Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a actually, I hope you had a wonderful day and you are ready to wind down and have a conversation with me about money, economic booms, history, current events, and I'm ready to stimulate your mind. Now, what is my live stream about? My live stream is about money flow, and money flow comes in many different ways, shape, or forms, whether it be through looking at the historical patterns of countries and businesses, whether it be looking at current events or even just studying how money moves throughout the rest of the world, because it's not simply just about cash. It's also information, it's geographical location, there's technology. So there's many different ways that money flows. I like to keep my live stream very objective. I like to keep it very challenging and stimulating. So what am I trying to say is that this is very informational, very educational. This could be entertainment, but it's not entertainment. What I do ask is that you keep your preferences to the side, your religious, your political, your gender, your racial. Please keep it out of my live stream. Let's keep this focused. Let's keep this on topic, and let's engage. Let's tap this screen. Now, my live stream is planned out, which means I have talking points. So if you have a comment, please make sure that your comment is on subject, on topic, because if it's not on topic, you're going to get muted, okay? I'm just warning you in advance. And last but not least, I need your engagement. I'm live. You're live with me. We're alive, and you can't have a live stream without interaction. So the more you tap that screen, the more you engage with me, the more we can increase the energy vibration of this live, and I can have you have a great end to your day. Now, what am I starting with? I am starting with the Islamic Development Bank. Now, the Islamic Development Bank is very, very similar to the World Bank, but I like to think it's very niche specific. The Islamic Development Bank, according to me, has a high success rate compared to the World Bank. And the first part of my live, I'm going to be talking about what this Islamic Development Bank is doing currently right now, how it's investing, why it's investing in a couple of other countries right now, just to give you a greater perspective as far as what's going on in the world, because you're familiar with the International Monetary Fund and you're familiar with the World Bank, but I know a good portion of the world, you probably did not know that the region of the Middle East actually has their own development bank, because they are trying to basically uplift their communities all around the world to make sure that they are prospering and moving forward. So please tap the screen, show me that you're here. Feel free to say hello, but what's most important is I need your support. I need you to tap the screen, and I need you to follow me, okay? If you're with me, tap that screen. All right, tap that screen. Come on now, you can do it. Now, the Islamic Development Bank has signed deals with Algeria and Uganda for development. Now, one of the best questions I like to ask is, why now? Now, if you didn't figure this out, the Islamic Development Bank actually focuses on countries that are predominantly Muslim, and they're there to help develop countries that are working on specific projects that are going to be successful and actually uplift the country and the citizens of that country. So the Islamic Development Bank was founded in 1975. It was actually founded around the same time that there was an OPEC crisis. Now, the OPEC crisis was based upon some conflict, okay? It was based upon some conflict that was happening in the Middle East. The United States of America actually supported one side, and the countries of OPEC refused to acknowledge this newly found country. So OPEC decided to basically hike up prices on oil and gas, and that caused a major disruption in the US and the rest of the world. So during around that same time, the Islamic Development Bank was actually created to help focus specifically on countries that are in the Middle East or Islamic. Where are you guys at? This is educational. Yes, I've shifted gears on you guys. Welcome to my live stream. My live stream, I give jokes, but my live stream is to educate you about things happening in the world in regards to money flow. Money flow doesn't only happen through the United States, through the IMF, or through the World Bank. And I'm here to educate you. Money flow happens in many, many different ways, shape, and forms. And there are also other positive influences that are trying to bring peace and prosperity to many different countries. And the Islamic Development Bank is one of them. Now, why is the Islamic Development Bank different from the U.S. financing or the World Bank financing or, the IMF? The Islamic Development Bank actually offers money loans in accordance to Islamic law, which means they're not charging interest. They're looking to earn a return on their investment from the project itself. So I'm going to repeat. Earning interest is something that is not in accordance with Islamic law. So the Islamic Development Bank, when they are offering loans or, sponsoring countries for development purposes, they are not earning interest off of that money. They are actually going to earn a return off of the success of the project. Are you with me? Tap that screen. Come on now. How many people are here? Come on now. Tap the screen. I got 320, guys. This is informational. Knowledge is power. Awareness is money. When you have knowledge and power and awareness, you can follow money flow with ease and with clarity, okay? Now, it was founded in 1975. It has 57 member countries, and it aims to foster economic and social development of Muslim communities worldwide. Now, some of you may say, why? And on the other hand, I say, why not? If you look at the nature of human beings, I love humans, okay? We are a spectacular species, humans. And I mean that sincerely. But one of the things I found with human beings is that we tend to get biased. Either we're biased because of fear, we're biased because of ignorance. And sometimes we buy into rhetoric, we buy into a narrative that may or may not be true, but we move forward with it anyway because it feels comfortable and everyone else is doing it. So there are periods of time in history where there is dissent, there's a reluctance to engage with others from all over the world, and that causes division. It could be racial divisions, political divisions, religious divisions. It goes back hundreds, thousands of years. Humans have a pattern of jumping on a horse that causes divisiveness between us, which interferes with our ability to trade, to prosper, to get enlightened, to get educated. So one of the other reasons why the Islamic Development Bank actually got started is because there are periods of time where there are a group of people, whether it be this religion, that religion, or another religion, that gets isolated from the rest of the world. They get sanctions and embargoes that prevents their countries and citizens in moving forward. And at some point in time, they actually have to unify, come together themselves. Thank you, true God. They come together to uplift themselves. Now, do I think it's necessary? No, but knowing human nature and how we tend to get our undies in a bunch, okay? Our undies tend to get bunched up, and we seem to move with whatever form of dissent that is in the air at that point in time. So back then, there was dissension in regards to acknowledging whether one country was real or not. It was dissension in regards to the United States of America choosing a side. And then there was a group of countries who decided to flex and show their power in unification. And they did that during oil prices. And in the process of that, they also decided to uplift their own people who were community that had a very similar religious preference. You're going to have to read between the lines because I'm walking a very fine line here. Okay, guys, I'm walking a very fine line to be respectful and educational at the same time. So I'm going to ask you to dig a little deep, read between the lines what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that humans get in their feelings. Humans get sensitive. And when humans get in their feelings and they feel disrespected because one person doesn't agree with their point of view, they have a tendency to lash out. And what happened during the OPEC crisis is that there was an economic lashing out because sides were chosen and it wasn't appreciated. And basically, they flexed. And they also decided to uplift their own kind, which was the Islamic Development Bank. Are you with me? Are you with me? Welcome to my live stream, guys. Yes, it's a different tone. It's a different vibe today. Please tap the screen. Please follow my live stream because I can't go live without you. Okay? It's me and you. Me and you. I'm going live for you. Hi, Keith. Welcome. It's you and I. There's no live stream. If I'm not alive, you're not alive. So I need you to tap that screen. Welcome to my live stream. My name is Tara. I am a digital nomad. I love money. I love focusing on money, history, current events, business cycles, and economic cycles. And I love giving you my unique perspective. So what am I asking? This is a promotional live stream. You are supporting me. You're supporting my show. So please follow me. Please tap the screen and please check out the link in my bio, okay? I am looking for people who enjoy a very dynamic type of content. Yes, my content is based on my moods. I'm looking for people who want to be stimulated, titillated, and actually have an intellectual, discourse back and forth. So please check out the link in my bio. So please become a monthly patron, support my live stream, support me, support my content so I can take this next level and I can keep reaching as many people in the world. So I'm going to repeat, tap the screen, follow me, and check out the link in my bio to become a monthly patron of this beautiful mind and this loud mouth. Now back on topic, okay? The Islamic Development Bank, all right, it supports the Muslim communities throughout the rest of the world. Now, Saudi Arabia has the leading role in the bank and it has the largest stake, and it's headquartered in Saudi Arabia. So what's happening right now? The Islamic Development Bank is actually investing $3 billion in projects in Algeria. It is also investing in, let me see, where did I go? in Uganda. Now, Algeria is getting more money than Uganda, and I'm going to tell you what I think. I think Algeria is getting more money than Uganda. It's because of Algeria's location. Algeria is actually next to water. It's next to the Mediterranean. Uganda is landlocked, okay? So when I talk about money flow and I talk about geographical location, that is critical information to consider when you are investing foreign investment in another country. Now, if Uganda, if the goal was different than trade, excuse me, thank you for the gift. If the goal was different than trade, the intention, there is a possibility that Uganda could have gotten more money. But I believe that Islamic Development Bank is trying to increase trade routes, trade connections to help boost global trade in the midst of a lot of uncertainty. I'm going to repeat. You see countries like Japan, China, the Middle East, investing in Africa. I believe they're investing in Africa as a way to diversify and hedge their bets because some of the main trading partners can't seem to understand the principle of global trade. So you have all these other nations who are basically reaching out and tapping Africa again. There's a resurgence of investment in Africa because there's a lot of resources. There could be a lot of potential buying power in Africa if we can get things straight there. If we can get the corruption under control, we can get some oversight, some governance. You can have a consumer buying power in Africa that could probably beat the U.S. if we can get rid of the corruption, if we can get it connected and we can get things moving forward. So I'm going to repeat what I said. The U.S. has a lot of consumer buying power, probably less nowadays because of money flow issues. If Africa, the continent of Africa, can actually develop, minimize the corruption, connect one another with railways, boats, land, and get it up to par where it needs to be, the consumer buying power of Africa could actually beat what other countries were getting from the U.S. So I think it's brilliant. I think it's visionary. I think it's strategic. But the continent of Africa also has to do its part. You understand what I'm saying? There is a level of money flow that could pour into different regions of the world if ways are changed, if management, government, if things were changed. Money multiplies, guys. Money doesn't disappear. Money multiplies. And what I'm trying to say in polite and politically correct terms is that if the countries of Africa actually realized their consumer buying power and allowed the money that's being invested, foreign investment, to make its way fully through to the citizens and back up, the purchasing consumer buying power of Africa would make America look, it would make America look like a baby, just a little baby. The world wouldn't need to rely solely on America. I'm going to say that. A lot of countries rely on consumers from America. I'm telling you, if certain continents and regions of the world actually allowed economic policies and money flow to go through their country, you would find that the landscape of money flow, the riches, prosperity, and wealth would shift in such a way, my hair would be blown back. I would probably look like Albert Einstein. Okay. That's what I would look like. It has that much potential. So when I see countries like Japan and China and, the Islamic Development Bank putting money in Africa at this point in time, I see it as very promising. But we have to do more than be promising. We have to do our part. If someone's putting money into your country, there is a certain level of responsibility, fiscal responsibility, world trade responsibility that you must have in receiving that money, because no one invests money without a return on investment. And right now, the Islamic Development Bank sees potential with Algeria and Uganda. Now, Uganda is very close to the Congo. The Congo has cobalt. Cobalt is blue gold. Okay, so having better trade routes, having better trade routes in Uganda, as far as railways, at the end they gave the money to having better trade routes in Uganda as far as railways, it actually will make it will make the continent of Africa just boost. If we can get the corruption under control, okay? If we can get some oversight and get the corruption under control, there is a world of economic opportunity there, all right? So what's happening in Algeria? The money is supposed to fund railways and connecting economic zones. Now, what are economic zones? There are zones within Algeria that are resource heavy, and you have zones within Algeria that's manufacturing heavy. They are trying to connect railways and roadways to make it easier for the regions of Algeria that have the resources to get to the manufacturing. Are you with me? Right now, it's disjointed. If we can get the heavy minerals, critical minerals resources to the manufacturing part, that's a game changer in itself. You want to know why? Because the U.S., I don't know why the U.S. is doing this, but the U.S. is trying to bring manufacturing back. I'm not working in factories. I don't know about y'all. I am a lady of leisure. I am a lady of digital money. I'm not working in factories. But Trump is on a mission to bring manufacturing jobs back for the unemployed in America. I don't think that's a good idea, but who am I? I'm just a woman on TikTok doing squawk, squawk, squawk. Please follow me. Tap that screen, everyone. So what's happening is that this loan is going to take the zones with resources and minerals and connect it to the manufacturing in Algeria. What I see is that that's going to boom manufacturing in Algeria, because Algeria is right on the Mediterranean. Right on the Mediterranean. You pop it on a ship, you ship it off to America, you ship it off to Europe, you ship it off to all different regions of the world. That's called a win-win situation. Now, one of the beautiful things about Northern Africa and the Middle East is that it makes it quicker and easier to get goods to the rest of the world. I'm going to repeat this. The Middle East is so important in global trade. even though they've had a lot of strife, confusion, corruption, a lot of, disruption in the region. The Middle East is critical to money flow and trade. And if they are able to get a level of stability, mutual respect, and collaboration, that will suck money from the West and all these other first world development worlds. It will suck it back to the Middle East, and it will redistribute wealth. Money will flow where there's stability, where there's a vision, and where there's ease and less corruption. When you have less corruption, money actually multiplies. When money multiplies, it's more money. So it's vital for the Middle East to see peace equals prosperity. Stability equals wealth. And if you can put your differences to the side, gender differences, racial differences, sect differences, I can't name it all. If you can put it to the side, have a bigger picture, you will become a magnet for money. And that money will also start to flow into Africa, because Africa is strategically located also, which benefits the rest of the world. So right now I see Algeria gearing up for manufacturing. Algeria, if it stays on the right track, it could actually compete with manufacturing in other regions of the world. So we don't solely have to rely on China, and we don't solely have to hope that the U.S. gets itself up to manufacturing par. I'm saying there will be a healthy competition in regards to manufacturing, and it's beyond healthy. Countries like Algeria could actually beat the U.S. in manufacturing. Why? Because wages are lower, and when you have lower wages and less issues with labor unions, that means greater profits. Greater profits means more money. More money means more foreign investment, more domestic investment. It's like a self-fulfilling cycle of prosperity and wealth. Are y'all with me? Huh? How many people are here? How are y'all doing? How are you doing? This is very important, okay? This is very, very important. Money flow comes in many different ways. Now, next, part of the money is going to Uganda. Now, Uganda is going to get $800 million and a financing deal for development. Now, it's aimed at railways again, and it's aimed at connecting Uganda with Kenya's railways to access the ports. Kenya has access to water. So the Islamic Development Bank is investing in Uganda to connect Uganda's railways with Kenya, so it gets to the water. It gets the critical minerals. It gets whatever needs is needed to the water. This attracts money. This brings money to Uganda. It brings money to the continent of Africa. So what I'm trying to share with you is that when you have the right infrastructure and you have critical investment at pivotal points in times where critical rare minerals are needed, that can take a country from financially struggling to becoming very prosperous, having a much bigger GDP. I'm going to repeat. Trade is critical in regards to the GDP of a nation. And in order to have great trade, you need proper infrastructure. That is why the Silk Road existed and so many trade routes exist. That is why we invest in trade routes, because trade brings buyers and sellers. It brings higher education. It brings longevity. It brings prosperity to the region. So by the Islamic Development Bank investing in these countries strategically because of their location and also because of their minerals, it's actually going to help with the digital boom, because the digital boom requires certain critical rare minerals that China is not releasing just yet. So what are people doing? Countries are making moves to ensure that they have a secondary plan, a tertiary plan, so that they are not restricted from being able to ride this AI boom, this quantum computing boom, this humanoid robot boom, whatever. It's setting itself up so that if the US and China can't seem to come to an understanding, there are alternative ways to get these critical rare minerals and to produce the technologies that's needed. Now, you know, Apple is in the process of trying to go to India to manufacture in India. So you have a lot of manufacturing location shifting happening. And if Africa can actually get its infrastructure up to par, that actually causes tech companies to possibly consider investing in those regions of the world that were not normally considered. All right. And last but not least, the Islamic Development Bank actually has a higher success rate than the World Bank. I want to emphasize this. The Islamic Development Bank has a higher success rate than the World Bank. The World Bank typically provides loans based upon crisis and needs. And there's not a guarantee that this country would per se be able to pay that money back. Now, the Islamic Development Bank actually invests, it's like a niche investment. They invest in projects that are actually going more than likely have a higher chance of having success. So unlike the World Bank, who's given money on need and crisis, the Islamic Development Bank is providing loans based upon success, the likelihood of success. That means there's a plan, there's a process, there's an allocation of resources, there is oversight, there's management, and there's goals. It's very similar to Shark Tank. It's probably even better. Hi, Dusty. It's probably even better. Thank you, Dusty. It's probably even better than what the success rate of Shark Tank, okay? So now I'm getting ready to move over to my next topic, because this next topic has irritated the hell out of me. Hi, Dusty. Thank you. This next topic, we're moving back to the US, okay? We're moving over to Harvard. So if you're still with me, please tap that screen, because I ran off about a couple of hundred people. Hi, Dusty. I've run off a couple of hundred people. I'm shifting topics and I'm going back to the US, okay? Oh, man. I'm very irritated by this topic, okay? Listen, I love education. If you want to connect with a woman like me, you have to stimulate my mind. I have to tell you this, okay? Huh? You have to teach me something new. If you can show me something I haven't seen, tell me something I haven't heard, or teach me something I don't know, you will captivate me. I'm giving you guys a secret to me, okay? I'm giving you the secret to Tara. Tara loves learning. I don't like bullshit. I like learning, and I love money. So if you can teach me something I don't know, show me something I haven't seen, tell me something, tell me something I haven't heard, guess what? You got my attention. Now, what does that mean? That means I'm a very cerebral woman. I'm a very mental woman, okay? I have a big mouth and I have a big mind, all right? The U.S. is banning Harvard from enrolling foreigners. Now, on one hand, you can say, justified. On the other hand, you cannot justify this, because if you look over history, hi Keith, you look over history and you understand the power of education. You understand the power of exchange of ideals with people all over the world. This is one of the most economically stunting things that you could do to the U.S. economy and the citizens of America, okay? America became great because we essentially stole some of the brightest, if not the brightest minds from Europe. Hello, Nana. Are you hearing me? Tap the screen. The U.S. put itself on the map as a intellectual hub, as a bubble of mind, of a melting pot of minds and ideas. Thank you, Dusty. Oh, that's what set us as a superpower. And that's what attracts people from all over the world to get an education from some of our most prestigious institutions. So when you have a school like Harvard saying that they cannot enroll foreigners, America was built off of foreigners. Are y'all with me? Tap that screen. America is made up of people from all regions of the world. All regions of the world. So I understand there's been some transgression. There's been some things that's happening on Harvard that are not ideal and actually probably shouldn't be happening. I'm going to admit, humans tend to do things sometimes we go too far. Okay, we take our ideas, we take our version of what the world should be like, and we try to push it on other people. I agree. But when you go so far as preventing Harvard from having foreign students enrolled, and about 25% of their student population is from around the world, you must understand when Americans are not able to interact with people who are culturally, who are personally, who are geographically different, you are going to stunt the quality of education and the minds that are coming out of that institution into this global workforce. Let me know if you guys are with me. Tap that screen. I know it's sensitive. But you got to be with me. Please tap the screen. I'm telling you, there are some far-reaching losses and ramifications of this decision. Now, I understand is to protect and stabilize interactions on the campus of Harvard. But let me tell you something. When I was in college, we had a couple of cereals. Okay, we had a cereal SERIAL. We had a cereal pew 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 on my campus, and then we had another type of cereal who was targeting women. So what I'm trying to tell you is that a college campus could be the wild, wild west. College campus tends to attract some spirited folks, but that is a part of the educational experience. Now, is it possible that Harvard did not manage some of the things that happened? Yes. You switch out the administration. You bring in better leadership, but you don't cut off Harvard, or you don't cut the world off from Harvard, all because some people sitting in positions of power lost their objectivity and they allowed their personal bias to interfere with their role and their responsibility as far as managing Harvard. I'm going to repeat this. You had people in positions of power at Harvard who lost their minds. They forgot that they had an ethical responsibility to the University of Harvard. They had a responsibility to Harvard that required them to put their personal preferences to the side and to uphold the legacy of the University of Harvard. Instead, what they did, they got caught up in mania, they got caught up in a beehive mentality, and they thought, hey, the world seems to be going in this direction. So they allowed their personal issues, preferences to drip into what happened, and they allowed a place that's supposed to be sacred. Listen, a university education to me is sacred. Okay? It's sacred. Now, it could be my age. Okay? It could be when I went to college. But when I went to college, I was told and taught that you're going to meet different people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, and we are here to have a conversation, to challenge each other, to understand, and to expand our minds. And we don't have to agree with one another. That's my day. That was the purpose of me going to college, was to be pushed beyond my bubble, pushed beyond what I can see, to expand my mind. Now you fast forward about half a century. Yes, fast forward about a half a century. You fast forward to today, and it seems like we can't agree to disagree. We can't put our discontent, our discomfort, our personal bias to the side. We can't put it to the side and have a conversation that challenges one another in a very respectful way. So I'm watching the deterioration of a university that was built off of a controversial path. Harvard is built off of a controversial past. I want to repeat. If you dig a little deeper into Harvard, you know who helped build Harvard, okay? Harvard just wasn't built off of, fairy dust and, grand ideas. Harvard was built off of versions of exploitation. Now I'm watching Harvard get pulled apart by a different version of exploitation. I'm going to repeat what I said. The University of Harvard was built, physically built, by exploitation. It has survived over many generations. Now I'm watching the great University of Harvard actually get pulled apart because it exploited a situation. A few people exploited a situation that was very tumultuous, that was very jarring, that was very divisive, and they allowed that to come and tear the very fabrics of what built this university. It's phenomenal to me to see Harvard kind of come full circle. But that's on one side. On the other side, if I ignore some of the things that Harvard has done, which is questionable, that makes me raise my eyebrow, and I just focus on what Harvard is supposed to represent and the minds that it's supposed to produce, and why Harvard attracted some of the most ambitious, some of the most brilliant people in the world. Why would you cut that university off from some of the best minds? Because that means technological innovations. That means you're sending these brilliant minds someplace else. If they're not going to go to Harvard and they can't feel safe in Harvard and they can't feel safe in the US, which is essentially a melting pot, they're going to go someplace else. Look at Timbuktu. You guys, some of you think Timbuktu never existed. Timbuktu was real. It was one of the most critical education. I think Timbuktu had some of the first universities in the world. But now Timbuktu is a joke. Okay, Timbuktu is a joke. But back in the past, Timbuktu was the place to be for trade, for business, for medicine, for health, for education. Some of the first universities were in Timbuktu. Timbuktu doesn't exist anymore. That information, those universities don't exist. So when I see President Trump basically saying foreign students must transfer out of Harvard or lose their legal status, and that's about 27% of the student body, I'm saying, what the fuck? Because once you do Harvard, who's next? Which other school is next? You cannot turn a melting pot country. You cannot take a melting pot country and close Yale. There you go, Valerie. This is asinine. There are far-reaching ramifications. First, foreign investment is going to be impacted. Second, you have a bunch of foreign students who have worked hard, gotten into Harvard, and their dream is being snatched. They're going to leave the United States of America with a very bad taste in their mouth. This has generational ramifications. I'm going to repeat. You have students who have busted their ass to get to the U.S. to get into Harvard. They are doing what they're supposed to do. They are churning out work. And because of a few students, they have lost an opportunity of a lifetime because our president is being short-sighted. These students are going to leave Harvard and they're going to be pissed. They're going to be disappointed. They're going to be angry. Why? Because the United States of America is supposed to represent a land of opportunity. Land of opportunity. And when you have a land of opportunity, that comes with risk. That does come with risk. When you have free speech, you have rights in America, that means there's always a risk of discord and disruption. Guys, don't try to co-host with me. I don't know you. Do not try to co-host with me. You can go to your profile and you can go live on your profile. This is a one-woman circus show. I am the circus show. Do not try to go live with me. You either watch me or you go live on your platform. Are we clear? Good. Back on topic. These students are going to leave. They're going to go back to their respective countries or transfer to other schools. Do you know the narrative that they're going to be saying about the U.S.? Do you know the memories they're going to have about the US? You are basically encouraging, fostering discontent towards the US for a group of people who did nothing to us. And we're trying, what is that? Thank you, Dusty, who are trying to get an education to better their life. Thank you, to better their life and to better their family's legacy. There are going to be far-reaching. Thank you, Dusty. Dusty's been missing for a few days, guys. He's been ghosting me for a few days, but welcome back, Dusty. That's good. This is going to have far-reaching implications. These are going to be future leaders, future CEOs, future politicians who are going to remember that the United States of America essentially booted them out of a land of opportunity, a land of free speech, a land of so many rights. If we are a land of rights and we're booting students out who are supposed to have access to those rights on our soil, that is counterproductive to what our Constitution and Bill of Rights stand for. I'm going to say that. I think we're getting confused that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is like a living, breathing entity. When you start choosing who has constitutional rights in this country, that takes me back to a time where there was slavery in the U.S., where you had to be a landowner or you had to be able to read or write to vote. When you do things like that, you're actually setting a great empire up for sabotage. The reason why a company like Tesla, Nvidia, Google, Apple exists is because they're able to tap into these universities and extract these best minds. If you cut these tech titans off from some of the best minds, do you understand what that's going to do to our stock market? What it's going to do to our GDP? What it's going to do to the credit worthiness or the investment worthiness of the US? So this is not as simple as, look, there were some activities, there were some H.A.T.E. activities, and that's why we're going to cut off funding from Harvard. No. This doesn't make sense, okay? I'm going to repeat. Okay, funding's being cut off from Harvard, okay? Funding's being cut off from Harvard, but the United States of America is accepting funding, foreign funding. I'm going to repeat. Foreign students are being banned from Harvard, but the United States of America and the Trump administration can take a jet from Qatar and we can take foreign investment from the Middle East, but students can't get an education here. I'm going to repeat this. Foreign students cannot get an education at Harvard. They have to go. But the United States of America can hold its hands out from foreign investment from the Middle East. So you can take their money, but you can't educate their people. Did you hear me? If you heard me, tap that screen. The United States of America will easily, happily take foreign investment. But on the same hand, we are not willing to educate foreign students. That doesn't make sense to me. Now, if you're concerned about the protests and the aggressive activities, you need a strategic plan in place to manage that. The U.S. has a long history of protesting, of disruption. Whether you look at the Black Panthers, we have a long history of groups of people coming together and being feisty. It's nothing new. It's our job to come up with policies and implement things. Thank you, Miku. Mr. Good Vibes. It's our job to come up with policies to manage that. That is the cost of being, that is the cost of being a land of opportunity. When you start cutting things off, you go from being a land of opportunity and you start looking like what you never wanted to become. Now, I can't speak very specifically because I'm on a platform where I need to be respectful, but I'm going to say this again. When you start restricting the ability of people from around the world to come into the United States is no longer the United States. The United States starts to look like other countries that are, how should I say, not what the United States wanted to become. This is how you watch the Roman Empire or the British Empire or the Chinese. This is how you watch an empire start to crumble. When you don't understand the value of brilliant minds from all over the world and you start to restrict, you are watching the United States of America transform into something that our founding fathers never intended. When the United States of America was created, it was based off of freedom. Freedom of thought, freedom of speech, freedom of liberty. And if you don't have freedom, you don't have liberties, then it's not the United States. And if the United States was built off of immigration and people coming in, and you're not letting people come in, we're not the United States. We are morphing into something that closes borders. We're closing our borders. Now, on one level, they're saying America first, America not alone. But if you are kicking students out because they are of foreign origins, it sounds like America, it is cutting off its ties to certain parts of the world. If not all. If not all. It's only a matter of time. You have scientists and great minds leaving the United States and going to Europe. You have friends saying, hey, Trump doesn't want to fund you. Trump doesn't want you. So guess what? Come to Europe. Come to France. This is what's happening. So you have brilliant minds leaving the U.S., and then you have the U.S. kicking out brilliant minds. So if you don't have the best minds, that means you don't have the best ideas. You don't have the best innovation. I see the U.S. sliding into obscurity. Why? Because we're saying, hey, there's some aggressive activities, and Harvard didn't handle it well. Harvard didn't handle it well. So since Harvard didn't handle it well, guess what? We're going to cut funding. We're going to cut $2.6 billion of funding. We're going to block future grants, and 27% of your student body must go. So you cut funding, you kick out 1/4 of the student body, which means the revenue that Harvard has is gone, which means you have professors who are going to be unemployed. Tell me if you're with me. Tell me if you're with me. Harvard will have to lay off some of its professors because the federal government has cut billions of dollars of funding. 1/4 of the student body will have to go, which means the revenue that these students were paying is gone. So that means you have a bunch of prestigious Ivy League professors who are now unemployed. And if I was that professor, those professors, I would be pissed. I would be pissed. When did education become a crime? When did education become a crime? When did a difference of opinion and some mismanaged emotions become a crime? Now you're saying Harvard allowed certain activities to happen. Then you know what I would do? I would invest more money in security on Harvard. I would ramp up, I would put a golden dome. Instead of putting a golden dome over the United States of America, I would invest money in a golden dome to protect our institutions so that they're safe and they're stable for all. That's what I would invest that money in. Trump is trying to put $175 billion, which will not pay for a golden dome, which is our defense system. He's trying to have a land, air, sea, space defense system instead of $175 billion on a golden dome. Why don't you invest that money and better security on our college campuses so that everyone feels safe, everyone feels heard, and everyone has a better social emotional toolkit to agree to disagree? What do you think about that? What do you think about that? That seems reasonable. That seems reasonable, right? These professors of Harvard, they're going to leave. They're going to go someplace else. And they're going to have some venom. They're going to have venom towards the United States. So what I'm telling you is that we are rubbing towards the United States. So what I'm telling you is that we are rubbing our citizens. We are rubbing our intellectuals. We're rubbing a lot of people the wrong way at the same time. And we're not just rubbing anybody. We're rubbing the people who help bolster our economy, our innovations, we're rubbing them the wrong way. We're shunning them, we're cutting them off, and we're forcing them into the hands of other countries who will happily take them. Because if you don't remember, the United States of America actually became a superpower during world wars. The US saw opportunity and we snagged German scientists. We brought them to the US. We threw them in the Midwest. Okay. We cut them off from the world and we said, get the work for us, create for us. And that gave the US some technological, I'm beating around the bush, but it gave the US a technological, I can't think of the word. We basically had an edge. It gave us an edge. So now what we're doing is we're tossing these brilliant minds to the side, and they're going to end up in the hands of our competition, because that's what global free trade's about. And you have great countries like China, great countries like France. You have the Middle East who's going to absorb these people, and they're going to work even harder just to vex the US, because they feel disrespected, they feel disregarded, they feel lied to, they feel tricked, and they don't feel seen or heard. And that is how you create unnecessary enemies. Are y'all with me? Okay. Now, the reasons for this is because of anti-American, anti-Semitism. Okay. They said Harvard was encouraging agitators and using current issues as justification. Look, guys, they protest on college campuses. Anybody who's been in the US most of their life, you know, and I know, college students like to get up in an uproar. That's what college students do. If you go back to the times of the Vietnam War, look at what happens on college campuses, okay? They are exploring themselves spicy-wise, and they're exploring their voice, okay? That is what happens on college campuses. Now, did Harvard not handle this correctly? More than likely. But this is too much. We don't have to like each other. We don't have to agree with each other. We don't have to destroy property, and we don't have to impact the lives of others. We can have a conversation that's heated and not agree and go home peacefully. I think that's where Harvard made a mistake. Harvard failed to let people know you don't have to like each other. You don't have to agree with one another. But while you're on my campus, there will be a level of respect and accountability that will happen on this campus if you value this education. And then Harvard should have came through with better security and better leadership to lead by example. You cannot turn a blind eye and act like you don't see what's happening and then say, hey, I'm clueless. They had a voice. Everyone has a voice. That is the purpose of going to university. Everyone has a voice. And if you don't have the management and leadership skills to orchestrate this in a healthy way, then I would say whoever was the president of Harvard probably shouldn't have been the president of Harvard. It's not on the students. Okay? It's not on the students. It's on the leadership. I'm going to repeat. It's not the students. It's the leadership. If you have weak, poor leadership, that causes the mice to play. And the mice are going to do as much as they want. It's like you know, when the mom and dad is away, the children will play. That's what they do. They run amok. So if you don't have good leadership, the students or the kids are even at home, if the parents are not good parents, the kids are going to run the show. So on the college campus, things ran amok because of lack of leadership. Strong leadership. Now you're going to see the effects of what's going to happen. Because let me tell you something. If you can't get foreign students, that's going to impact foreign investment. They go hand in hand. You are ostracizing future business leaders, future politicians. You're ostracizing them. They're not going to forget. They're going to go home to their home countries, or they're going to go to other countries, and they're going to speak about this. That's going to impact the U.S. Maybe not right now, but midterm and long term, that is going to impact the U.S. Now, great trade hubs, okay? Great trade hubs like Baghdad, Syria, Timbuktu, they actually allowed a free flow of people, information, goods, and services. It's getting really difficult to get an education and do business with the United States of America. I'm going to repeat, it's getting really difficult. It's unnecessary difficult. You cannot just manhandle and mishandle and mismanage people. You cannot manhandle, mismanage, and mishandle people. People have a long emotional history. We have a long emotional history. And on the surface, you're saying national security. But you and I both know there has been in recent past a level of dissension that has been ripping through the United States. It's gone from one issue to the other. First, it was COVID. Okay. Then it went from COVID protests of some sorts. Okay. Because we had a problem with COVID. Then we went to racial relations. We are going from one thing to the other when all we need is good leadership, good visionary leadership. When you start cutting off people, silencing them, shunning them, booting them out, that's going to create for a new influx, a new inflow, a potential frenemies. And when you have hidden frenemies, that impacts your budget, that impacts your GDP, that impacts your businesses, and that I can't emphasize the far-reaching implications of it. Cutting jobs from the federal government is one thing. When you're messing with funding for education and you're cutting off education from students, I'm telling you, people can take your money, they can take your clothes, they can take your house, but they can't take what you know. And when you start impacting a person's ability to get an education, which is no different than what happened during slavery in the US, when you impact a person's ability to learn, you're actually impacting your economy, your country, because those people are capital, human capital, intellectual capital that you're stunting and you're cutting yourself off from, which means it's naturally going to land in the hands of your competition. The same people that you're competing with, they're going to go there. And people like to get even. People like to get even. So guys, that is the end of my live stream today. Okay. If you haven't followed me, please do so. If you haven't tapped the screen, please do so. Keith and Dusty and everyone else, thank you so much for your gifts and support. I hope this is giving you some perspective. I hope, I don't want you to choose sides. This is not about choosing sides. Thank you, Valiant. This is not about choosing sides. This is about having an understanding of the far-reaching implications. By cutting off 27% of students from Harvard, that is a money flow impact. You're cutting money off from Harvard, and that money is going to go someplace else. You're cutting money off from Harvard, and you're redirecting that money to your Golden Dome. You're cutting money off from other universities, and you're redirecting money that's supposed to be for education, and you're redirecting it for your purposes. I don't like inconsistency. If you're going to stand for something, stand for it. But stand for it. Okay? You cannot use cutting funding for some of our best universities. You can't use something like this, cut funding, and then redirect that money for your Golden Dome. Why? Because you like to see your name in gold. That's not good. Because if we don't have money for Harvard, and we don't have money for 2 million civil workers for the federal government, then how do you have money for Golden Dome? I'm going to repeat, and I'm getting ready to leave. We have no money for the 2 million civil workers that have been laid off from the federal government. We have no money. We're cutting money from the Department of Justice, Health and Human Services, Department of Education. We're cutting money there. But magically, we got money for a Golden Dome. You're cutting money for education, and you're redirecting the money for education for a Golden Dome. So you want a land, air, and sea space defense system with a bunch of people who are not getting an education. I'm going to repeat. You want a defense system, land, air, sea, and space, to protect something Protect people who can't get an education. Okay? You're cutting the funding for the Department of Education. You're cutting the funding for our secondary university institutions. And you want to protect what? The whole purpose of a golden dome is to protect the intellectual, the innovation. That's what you're protecting. So if you're gutting education and you're redirecting money to your benefit, what exactly are we protecting? If the citizens are not getting an education, you and I both know what happens to a country when citizens are not being educated to the right level. I'm going to repeat. We all know what happens to countries in which their citizens are not being educated properly. The GDP is a real indicator of what that means. So if the Department of Education is getting cut, institutions, their funding is getting cut, foreign students are being booted, great professors are jobless and going to leave the country, what exactly is this golden dome supposed to protect? Oh, I'm sorry. If he cuts funding for universities and we're all high school graduates, that means we can work in manufacturing jobs. Y'all, did you hear me? If universities are having funding cuts, which means professors are being laid off, they don't have enough money, then that means that you will be geared up to work in this manufacturing jobs, low-skilled, low-paid jobs that Trump is bringing back. I need y'all to reflect on what I said because I just had an epiphany. Thank you, Imani. I just had an epiphany. If the education's not there, the higher education's not there, because the quality of the professors are not there, then that means you are getting set up for a low-pay, low-skilled job, which is called manufacturing. And he's going to put a golden dome over your low-paying, low-skilled, back-breaking job. What y'all think about that? What do you think about that? Okay? What do you think about that? Knowledge is power. Knowledge is money. Okay? That's why the slaves were prevented from being able to read or write or own land. It keeps you from advancing. If universities are having funding cuts and they're using an excuse as far as anti-American behavior, listen, if I went to the unemployment line, I can guarantee, if I stood in the unemployment line, do you know how many anti-American comments I would hear from civil workers who got laid off? Think about what I said. Civil workers, 2 million civil workers have lost their job. How many of you think they're making anti-American comments saying this son of a bitch have put me out of a job? So if you're using this as a premise to cut money, to stunt the education internationally and domestically of students, that means you guys are getting primed. You're getting primed to work in a low-skilled, low-paying manufacturing job in which he's going to have a golden dome. So if you try to escape, no, put the dome over the 1%. Listen, guys, there's nothing wrong with the 1%. Hold on. I have to talk about that comment. Put the dome over the 1%. No, guys. No. There's nothing wrong with wealth. There's nothing wrong with prosperity. Okay? I don't want you to be angry with the 1%. I want to use my live stream to educate you about this money game. So the 1% is no longer the 1%. It can become the 99%. It cannot go from 1% to 99% until you understand the money game, until you understand what is being done, until you understand the urgency of why you take action. No, don't be angry with the 1%. Money is good. Money is good. You get to eat with money. You get to pay for heat. You get a car. You get a roof over your head. You get to take a vacation. You get to buy clothes. Money is good. The purpose of my live stream is to show you and educate you so you can have some of this money. No. I love money. No. I don't have a problem with the 1%. What I got a problem is with the games. So when I talk about these things, I'm trying to educate you so you make better money decisions and you're more decisive and you can ride economic booms. No. You can be part of the 1% too. If you take action, if you make better decisions, and you ride these economic booms. So I want to state this for the record. I don't have a problem with the 1%. The 1% is a lovely life. It's a lovely life. I would rather be in the 1% than be on the other side of this bell curve, which I have no food, no heat, no water, and I'm walking. No, 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 no. My live stream is about money flow. Okay? My live stream is to help you see so you can make better decisions and you go from broke money to new money to more money. I want to state this for the record. Stop being angry with the 1% and start learning from the 1%. Money does not disappear. Money just moves. And I want it to move in your direction so that you are at the right location at the right time. You can create your own luck if you're at the right location at the right time. So no, don't get angry with the 1%. Do they play games? Yes. Do they manipulate? Yes. Do they tell the truth all the time? No. But that's human nature. You can be broke and play games. You can be rich and play games. That's just human nature. The fact is, I want you to get this money. Now, if you haven't followed me, please do so. Please become a monthly patron of my mouth. Become a monthly sponsor. You will get direct access to me. There's a link on my profile, on my bio. Click on that link. Support my live stream. Support my content and support me so I can give even more back to all of you. And when I say you can ask me anything, trust me, you can ask me anything and I will add value to you. I will offer you insight, but you have to take a step. I had a lovely person talk about, thank you, Solomon. I had a lovely person talk about the 1%. The 1% is the 1% because the 1% takes action. Takes action. So when I'm asking you to go to my profile, go to my link, become a monthly sponsor, it's because I need to show you the value of taking action. You have to get off your booty. You got to get off your booty. You got to take action. You cannot become prosperous by sitting on your bum. You got to get off your butt and you have to take action. And part of that action is being mentally pushed and stimulated to see the world in a different way. So if you really are serious about changing your life and your situation, I am encouraging you to take a risk on you. Go to my profile, become a monthly patron, and engage with me so I can help you level up. Engage with me personally so I can help you level up. Because if Trump keeps cutting money and keeps isolating the U.S. from the rest of the world, that's going to stunt your ability for generational wealth and generational prosperity. So guys, it's a time to make calculated decisions. And I am an ROI that delivers. And I keep saying that over and over again. And you don't know what you're missing until I show you what you're missing. See, some of y'all think I'm all talk. I'm not talk. I'm all about business. You won't know what you're missing until you engage with me. And then once you engage with me, you're going to be surprised that you were missing out and you took too much time. So thank you for your likes. Thank you for subscribing. Please follow me. Thank you for subscribing, Imani. Go to the link in my profile and let's take this to the next level. I guarantee you, I will push you. You won't get pushed like this when anyone else. I will push you out of your comfort zone and I will push you to start making better decisions so that you can have prosperity. And if you don't want prosperity and you want to kiki and engage and you want a good bud, a good friend, trust me, I'm very entertaining. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your subscriptions. Thank you for the 40,000 likes. Thank you for following me. Thank you for the gifts, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful, beautiful night, and I look forward to connecting with you again. Love y'all. Goodbye.